Hey, welcome back to 65 Drums. My name's Justin. You've probably noticed that this looks a lot different than the filming set that I'm usually at. I was thinking to myself, what would be better than filming YouTube videos in a basement in Ohio? And I landed on filming YouTube videos in a different basement in Tennessee. I thought it'd be fun to make a video showing you the behind-the-scenes process of turning a bunch of boring gray walls with bad lighting into something that is usable to film with on YouTube. Now don't worry, this is not going to turn into a video where Justin pretends he's on HGTV. I know the limits of my skill set. This is going to be more of, how do you plan out a drum room that looks nice on camera? And I'm not saying this is the greatest drum room of all time. I didn't throw thousands of dollars at this, but I am very happy with the results. And if you watch this and along the way you get a couple of ideas for your drum room at home, I'll count this video as a win. But first, today's video is brought to you by EdrumCenter.com. If you're in the market for a brand new electronic drum set, a used electronic drum set, or even just an extra cymbal or an extra part to upgrade your current kit, go check out EdrumCenter. Check out the discount code in the description below to save some money on your next order. Okay, so step one was the planning stage. And for me, I really had to plan a lot in advance because I really couldn't see this room before I moved here. There was also a bit of a time crunch. I basically had to arrive with a plan and execute that in about 3 days. The first thing that I did was throw a picture of the room into my photo editor and just start messing around. With this room, I decided on a dark blue, which matches my channel logo. Also, when in doubt, it would probably be better to pick the color of the drum rug so that you can make a paint that matches that. I could have gone with a quote-unquote legit drum rug from Zildjian or DW, but instead I decided to hit up a home decoration store near me and pick something there. I'm not saying it's better to go this route. What I am saying is that you get more options because you can get one in the exact size you want with the exact kind of texture or color that you want. The next thing I wanted to get done before I moved was buy some sound panels. This would be partly to make the acoustics better in the room, although to be real, I'd probably have to buy like 20 of them to dampen the space fully. It'd partly be for that though, and then also for the looks. There are so many different shapes and sizes and materials and configurations you can go with. But for me, because I used to work in the musical and concert industry as a stagehand, I wanted to get some more traditional sound panels that I saw in theater venues. So I went with a company based in the US called Acoustimac. Next up is wall texture. At first, I wanted to go with these parallel wood bars that run up and down. But the moment I chose that pattern, I started seeing it everywhere on YouTube. And I didn't want to run the risk of looking corny in 2 years. Although, come to think of it, that particular strategy hasn't hurt my YouTube channel yet. It's actually really convenient to take a photo of a wall that you like on Google Images and then superimpose that over a real-life room photo of the room you're working with, so you can do all this remotely and figure out how it will look like. My sister took the pattern that I chose, the dimensions of the room, and then did some math to figure out how much lumber we'd have to purchase in order to make that pattern happen. Okay, so that concludes the planning phase. That's pretty much all you can possibly do before you actually get to the location. So I started packing everything up and putting everything in the trailer, leaving a very, very empty basement. It's amazing what some rugs and just filming certain angles can do for you. So when we finally started working on the room, I kind of started running into a few holes in my Grandmaster plan that I had spent so much time working on. I neglected to actually pay any attention to this left side wall. I thought, I don't really need a wall pattern because I'm basically just going to be shooting this way and then that way. I'll probably never shoot this way, and even if I do, it doesn't really have to have anything on it. But when I actually got to the room in person and we were starting to nail up boards to the wall, we really needed to finalize everything, I began to realize, I don't want to have a wall pattern on 2/3 of the room and just leave one wall empty. So I decided, we can shift things around. So the point of interest of wall number 1 is going to be the wall panels. Point of interest on the long wall will be the wall pattern. And the point of interest for this wall will be a backlit sort of shelving unit with a bunch of vintage electronic drums. And the final change that we made to the plans versus what we did in real life was going with a slightly different pattern on the main wall. Because what looks good on paper versus what looks good on a 20-foot wall can be a little bit different. Next up were the little detail things that you don't really think about until you start trying to film. Like for example, the power sockets on the walls. They're like this off-white or slightly yellowish design that really stands out a little too much on a dark blue wall. Because I couldn't really paint the outlets themselves, because you're not supposed to do that, I went to Walmart and I bought a bunch of child safety plugs. I painted those and then I inserted those into the power sockets. So now the outlets kind of blend into the wall. Really made a big difference in my opinion. Now, moving ahead to some of the more messy behind the scenes stuff, I decided to have this entire wall just be all the gear that it takes to run a YouTube channel. So I have a little portable table set up with a bunch of tools. I've got all my lenses. I've got all my batteries there. I have a bunch of shelving units that I leave my old triggers from previous reviews in, all the different adapters for electronics, for audio stuff. I got this really cool cable wall that I built so I can store all my quarter-inch cables, XLR cables. You can even organize it by how long the cables are. Really makes your life better. Okay, so next up, let's move ahead and talk about the lighting situation. I know it might not seem like a big deal if you don't make videos, but lighting is half of the image. This is where the camera is, obviously, and that is my key light for the talking head stuff. It's an Amaran light, I don't remember the model number, and it's got an aperture light dome to soften the light and diffuse it. It's pointing this way. The second light is going to be this little light that just is supposed to focus on the drums. I've got a point of interest light behind the drum set. I think it's an Amaran 4-foot light bar. It can be whatever color I want. I chose blue because apparently that's my favorite color. I've got another point of interest light over here in the corner of the room, hiding behind some old Muzio drums. This is here purely so that it can hide this little pipe in the wall. And then finally, we have the shelving unit that is backlit with 2 rolls of LED tape. There's also a few lights up here in the ceiling, and they used to be a soft white, I think something like 2700 Kelvin, but instead I wanted to match the key light temperature, which is in the 5000s. So I went and bought some daylight light bulbs, and that way they don't wash out the blue texture. Because if you have yellow light spilling on a blue wall, it just makes it look more brown, more bland looking. And this brings out the blue of the wall instead of detracting from it. So I think that was a good idea. Couple of quick things to mention here at the end of the video. First of all, huge shout out to my sister Alicia for doing so much of the work and also helping me during the planning phase. Very much appreciated. Also my brother Ryan as well. And finally, I want to mention that I'm not pretending this is the perfect drum room or anything like that. I'm just saying it's perfect for me and what I want to do when I'm trying to shoot YouTube videos. Basically with this video, I'm hoping that maybe you get a couple of ideas for your drum room, whether you're trying to film something or not. It's always fun to mess with the color of the walls or your lighting to make your image look as good as possible. If you're watching all the way to the end of a behind the scenes video for 65 drums, you've probably been watching for quite a while. I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you to the people on Patreon who also support the channel monetarily. You guys are awesome as well. See you in the next one.